I'm Julie Marie and I'm excited to bring to you another one of my great recipes. Tonight I'm making soup. It's about 90 degrees outside and my father always said to eat hot soup on a hot day it actually cools you off. I don't know if there's truth in that, we'll find out tonight. But he said that it caused your body to not have to warm up what you were eating, which kept you cooler. I don't know, but we'll try some soup tonight. I don't record any recipes for soup. I just start with 8 basic ingredients every time I make soup. And then I change up the seasonings and different beans and things that I add to this 8 ingredient base. So you could go with, I always try to go with a theme, like either do Italian or do Mexican, or tonight I'm making creamy potato and kale soup because it's what I had on hand in the fridge. So I'm going to start off with my first ingredient that I always start off with, organic vegetable broth. So we're going to use a whole box. This is a 2-part soup. Most of the soups I make is just one part. It starts with a broth and it's a clear soup. This one's got a creamy second step to it. So I start off with 1 box of broth, 1 onion, about a medium onion diced, 1 large carrot or 2 small carrots diced, 1 rib of celery diced, a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. And I have I'd say about 3/4 cup of fresh chopped parsley. This is the key ingredients to all soups and pretty much all of my recipes. I love parsley, it just adds a fresh element. I'm going to add half of it now and half of it at the end to give it a fresh look, that nice green look. And then I'm also going to add 1 clove of garlic. Normally when I make soups, I double this batch and then I freeze them. So 1 clove of pressed garlic. And this is a single batch that I'm making today to show you. And then I'm going to add 2 small potatoes, medium to small. This is 1 white potato, 1 red potato, whatever you have on hand. You could use a sweet potato even. Potatoes, I've been trying to incorporate more of them into my diet. 6 grams of fiber per potato, 6 grams of protein per potato. They pack a nutritional punch. And then I'm going to just mix this up and bring this to a boil until all of those veggies are nice and tender. I'm going to move those over to another burner while I make my creamy base to add to that soup. So what I'm going to do to make the cream part of the soup is I'm going to add 1 box of unsweetened soy milk, organic. You want to look for soy milk that has only soybeans and water. Always organic. And then what I'm going to add to that, I'm going to bring this soy milk to a boil. So that's going to take us a couple minutes. And I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of cornstarch with a little water just to liquefy that so that we don't have lumpy cream sauce. This is very similar to the cream sauce I made in my baked mac and cheese, as well as my cheesy scalloped potatoes. If you haven't checked out those recipes, do. They're delicious. This soup is going to incorporate, oh, I forgot to add the kale as well. Let me talk to you about the kale while we're waiting for this to boil. The kale, what I did was, for those of you that aren't familiar with kale, I definitely want you to pick some up. Look for organic kale. You can find it at Whole Foods, or your local grocery store probably carries it as well. They should. I say organics only because it's really hard to clean any kind of greens. You can't scrub them properly to get rid of pesticides, so if you can find organic, that's always better. What you're going to do to clean kale is you're just going to tear it off of this big vine. This vine is basically too tough for anyone to eat, so you're going to put that in your compost if you have one, or into the garbage. And then this kale you're going to chop into fine ribbons like this is here. And this is going to boil up into the soup. It's almost going to be nothing after it cooks, but it's going to add so many nutrients. And when you slice this up, you want to let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, because the scientists have found that it actually increases the antioxidant power of the kale if you slice it and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. What's happening here is amazing stuff. Is the kale is actually producing healing properties because it's torn or cut. It's those properties in our body actually act to help heal us. So what we want to do is shred this up and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes before we add it to our soup. So I'm going to add it to our soup base, the broth base that I just showed you. And that's going to cook down. I'm so excited to get more kale into your diet. It's such a great leafy green. You can use it in place where you'd use spinach. I have a spinach lasagna recipe. You could use kale in place of the spinach. It's a great leafy green. There's also a garlic greens recipe on my website. Check that out. That's a great way to incorporate it at least once a week. Okay, our soy milk has come to a boil. I'm going to turn it down for a second while it calms down. And I'm going to turn it back up now. And I'm going to whisk in. Yeah, you got to keep an eye on this because it will overflow easily. I'm going to whisk in the cornstarch and water. And this should thicken right up. My broth and veggies are simmering really nice. They're coming to a boil, so the potatoes are getting cooked, the carrots, the celery, the parsley. I want to get more parsley into all of our diets. It's got lots of calcium and iron. For those of you that have had challenges with iron deficiencies like anemia, usually that's common in a standard American diet, not in a vegan diet that is a nutritionally dense diet. If you're eating a lot of greens, you should have no challenges with iron. Iron is found in all of our awesome leafy greens. It's eaten by the cattle, and that's how it's found in beef. So I go straight to my iron source by eating the greens myself. I don't want to eat iron filtered through an animal. I want to eat it directly from the source that the animal's getting it from. So I enjoy my iron straight up. I eat lots of spinach salads. I add spinach to pretty much everything I can. It's so easy now because you can get it pre-washed, baby spinach in the box, and kale. We've got it in our soup today. So we've got that covered. So this is thickening up really nicely. So I'm going to stop whisking it, and I'm going to add some nutritional yeast to this. And I've used this in a lot of my recipes. This has a lot of B vitamins, a lot of added protein. And I'm going to put 1.25 cups. Just going to eyeball this. 1.25 cups of nutritional yeast. And this is going to give it a nice creamy, cheesy flavor. I love this stuff. I put it on top of green salads. I sprinkle it on top of soups. If I make a pasta dish, it's a great additive. You could use it in place of Parmesan cheese. Okay, my cream sauce is nicely thickened up, so I'm going to move this over. And I'm going to get my soup base back over here. I'm going to check to see that I can see that my kale's all wilted down now and it's incorporated in, and the potatoes, they're nice and tender. And I always recommend you taste your broth. It's the key in the soup. All of those veggies that we added to it are going to add so much flavor to that vegetable broth that we bought. You could use water instead of vegetable stock. Just add a little more salt. It just speeds up the process. Now that tastes delicious. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the heat back on, and we are going to add our creamy, cheesy sauce to the broth. Hopefully you can see how nice and thick and creamy that is. I'm going to get all of that in there. This is actually the first time I'm making this soup. I change up my soups every week. I jar them like I did in the bean jarring video, where I heat up the soups and then I put them in the jars and they seal and I keep them in my refrigerator. You could freeze them as well. This soup turned out beautiful. I'm really excited about it. I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to add the rest of my parsley. This is just going to give it a nice fresh green look. Anytime you add fresh herbs to a recipe, I think you're going to add a really nice gourmet look to it, and the antioxidants are unmatchable. So add your parsley, cilantro, basil, all of those things are just wonderful. So I'm going to turn off the heat now. The other thing that is optional to add is caraway seeds. Now this is going to give it a richer flavor, and when I add them, I'm just going to crush them a little bit with my fingers to release the oils from the seeds, and then add those to the soup. You could add them earlier than I did, but I just added them at the end to let you know they are optional. If you like rye bread, that flavor of caraway, then you'll love the caraway seeds added to your soups. They're great in cabbage soups or like bean soups, heartier soups. The caraway just gives it that added extra deeper flavor. So I'm going to plate this up. I'm so excited to try it. It looks so good. It looks so hearty. Here it is in July in Chicago, 90 degrees out tonight. As my dad said, eat hot soup on a hot day, it'll cool you off. I don't know where he got that from, but he always did it. I found him outside on the patio eating soup. My mom and dad both made soups. My dad made a cabbage soup that was to die for, and my mom, she was queen of this soup that had a lot of bacon in it. So she no longer eats that, and she's on the plan like I am, so I'm excited. I'm excited to share this recipe with my mom, actually. It's hot. Oh, you've been waiting. I'm going to let Jerry try the soup first. Thanks for watching, and I hope you make some soup soon. And remember, optimum health will be owned by those who eat an abundance of plants. So eat your fruits and veggies. Incorporate kale into your diet, whether it's in the garlic greens recipe or our soup tonight that I made. And take care. Best of health to you. Thanks for watching.